Just a quick reply to this weekend's result in Italy. Gordon Highlander pups cleaning up. Basically, it was a sporting show put on by the Italian club. Very good show. It's like I predicted a few years back. Your basic dog shows in France, which are just beauty pageants, beauty competitions, are soon, especially with the working dogs, are soon going to be bypassed with sort of sporting events or half sporting, half sort of dog shows. Better value for money. When you're referring to the complete dog, you're going to get a look at his character, his temperament, his structure, movement. You're going to look at the whole ensemble, the whole sort of overall look of the dog, which is going to give you a better idea than just your old-fashioned dog shows where you go once or twice up the mat and then it's finished. So basically, the Italian guys, great idea. What they did was they invited a very respected judge, Mr. John Hickling. Mr. John Hickling is a guy who was known in the Stafford circles way back, and is a guy who appreciates a real Stafford, a working Stafford. That's not, when we say the term working Stafford, it's not to say dogs that fight, but it's maybe dogs that are capable of fighting in structure, physique, temperament. Because I mean, if we go back to the beginning, don't forget the Staffordshire Bull Terrier was originally a fighting dog, and the standard of the Staffordshire Bull Terrier is actually the blueprint for the perfect fighting dog. So whether it's a different debate, we don't agree with dog fighting, etc., etc. If you're going to buy a dog that has those origins and you're going to stick to the standard was, whether people like it or not, the blueprint for the perfect fighting dog. I remember many years back, we're going back 25, 30 years ago, having this conversation with the judge, an old timer, and I said, well, when you're in front of 20, 30 dogs in open class, how do you pick? And the guy in question said to me, it's the dog that I would put my money on if he was in the pit. The dog that looks as though he would be capable of winning. And again, a very sort of politically incorrect statement in today's mamby-pamby world, but that's what you should be looking at. John Hickling went to Italy. He judged all of the dogs. There were a lot of sporting dogs, a lot of good dogs, and a lot of dogs down from Holland, down from the Quinley kennels. And funnily enough, the dogs that shined and came through, 1, 2 and 3 for him, best dog, best bitch, were dogs down from Gordon Highlander. So obviously people say to me, Gordon Highlander, how come you weren't really known for being a sort of a red Staffordshire Bull Terrier fan? And it's true, I'm not, it wasn't one of my preferred colours, but a quick sort of rundown on how Gordon ended up at the kennels. Basically, there was a Jolly M bitch that came into France many years ago, and she was mated to a Bully House male that came down from Holland. And they produced a litter, and of this litter, the pick of the litter, went back to England, and now I think Bogey, his name is, now I think he was in New Zealand, or he's in the islands, he's long way away. Anyway, Bogey was the pick of the males, the litter, and the pick of the females was a bitch called Baroness. Now, Baroness went to live with a well-known breeder in the Côte d'Azur, south coast, and anyway, she had a mating, I think she had a mating or two, and then finally it came along that they wanted to mate Baroness to a decent, athletic brindle dog. Now, they were searching high and low for a brindle dog that matched, and it just so happens I had a brindle dog that was my guard dog. It was Dude of Knightwood Oak. And funnily enough, despite all of the sort of different stories and versions that go down the years, Baroness was a double show champion and the lady in question asked me for Dude, my guard dog, if they could put Dude across her bitch. And to begin with, I refused because wasn't my type of dog. Anyway, long story short, anybody that knows the history, after 4 or 5 bottles of wine, we agreed, and Dude was mated to Baroness, producing a fine litter, some very, very smart dogs. In fact, the best litter that Baroness ever produced. You had Glasgow, which was a beautiful red dog, dark with a black mask. He went off to the Bordeaux region. I think he went across to the west coast. I kept back a bitch called Ghost, brindle bitch, very, very nice dog. And Gordon was going to be kept back by the owner. But I saw Gordon as a pup, and he was a very intelligent little dog. There was something about him that made me think of my Kerrisdale dog from years back. Anyway, long story short, Julia, the breeder, he was too much for her. He ran circles around all her dogs, all her kennels, and she just didn't have the energy for him. So he ended up coming back to me. Again, long story short, I ended up buying him off of Julia, and so he came back to me. Anyway, I worked him as I work all my dogs, and he lapped it up. He was a very, very good dog. He was a thinker. He is, and it was the sort of show lines of the Jolly M and the Bully House and all that, which is the M-line dogs, basically, going back to Gentleman Jim, married into the R-line dogs of my sort of choosing, which go back through the Rapparee and the Bell Knight Betch Green back to the Ribchester stuff, produced a very good-looking dog with the drive of the sporting dogs that I look for. Anyway, so long story short, Gordon has been mated, to a fair number of dogs, and the results are very, very good. He's got a son currently in Holland who's making waves in Holland. I mean, he's winning everything in the sporting sort of circles and even in the beauty shows. And he's got the family of pups that went off to Italy. They're cleaning up down there. The fact that John Hickling, without knowing that they were down from my stuff, thought so highly of them, speaks volumes. And even in Italy, you had the Stockade blood, which was brought over from Scotland. Scotland, the Stockade blood was married with Knightwood's Hagler. Hagler himself is a son of Knightwood's Dude. So Dude, funnily enough, is behind Gordon, Glasgow, Ghost, all these nice, fabulous dogs there. And he's also behind Hagler, who went over and was married to the Italian dog that gave a lovely mix of sort of show working dogs. So, it's funnily enough, we talk about these sort of unsung dogs, and Dude of Knightwood Oak, we've got sort of stories and stories and stories that can be told and will be told about him. Dude of Knightwood Oak, funnily enough, is the unsung hero who is behind many, many a good dog. And even there, we've got a little one, McGregor at the moment. That we're in talks with a fine breeder from the United States. So I might have another one going off to the States. Dude's got other pups over in Chile, in South America, in Canada, So when people talk about Knightwood Oak Kennels, they often think about Billy the Kerrisdale dog, Nelly the Australian dog, and then they obviously think about the Charlie Brown, the legendary Charlie Brown, and they tend to think like that. But unsung heroes are dogs like Dude that went on to produce the Haglers, the Gordons. So anyway, that's something that needed to be said. I thought about it. It sort of when the news came back this weekend that they'd cleaned up, it did actually make me laugh. So anyway, I've spoken about that, and we'll see how we go.